a strategy that I have developed to identify bottoms in the bull market. Now, you can similarly use this to find tops, but in a bull market, it is kind of tricky. However, it does kind of give you an indication of when you are approaching or developing some sort of top via distribution. So, for example, I'm going to jump right into it. The indicator that I am going to be looking at is market cipher B. Now, that is a paid indicator. However, there is a free version, and I don't know, I hadn't used it in a while. I used it some when before I got this indicator, but let's take a look and see how much similarity we have with. So this one is a free version. It's called Fu Manchu Cipher B with divergences, and you can see the similarities. So we'll kind of look at it together. That way, if you don't have market cipher B, you can still pull together this strategy and try to utilize it. Let me make a little adjustment here so we can see what we're looking at a little better. And you can't really adjust as you can with market cipher B. Okay, nevertheless. All right, so I have developed this strategy through this bull market, and it is as follows. On the 3-day time frame, to identify a bottom, you're essentially looking for 3-day bull divs in this uptrend. And so far, this cycle, it has happened here. And let me switch to a clean Bitcoin chart real quick. Let's see if this was clean. All right, here we go. So this has happened twice so far this cycle, and it's been very, very, very accurate. And it's not just good for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like the barometer or the gauge for that I like to use for the altcoin market, because when you're buying altcoins on spot, it's essentially like getting leverage without the risk of getting liquidated. So, getting a move off of these bottoms to, 100% move, that was very nice. But, I think we can mostly agree, that one's 67%. So we can mostly agree. This one was a pretty nice move, but, we're really looking for, at least like a 2x. Hopefully a 3x on some altcoins on these rises, and I'll show you some examples of that. But let's jump right into the strategy. So first and foremost is you're looking for Bitcoin to come down to some key levels, and in this situation you had it did front run this golden pocket, and it barely tapped the high. I don't even think it mitigated this range. Okay, so the levels aren't quite as important just due to the manipulation that's going to be going on as these bottoms form. It's more so we're looking at that indicator after a good move down, a good retracement. And so what you're going to be looking for is the 3-day momentum waves here to be printing higher highs as Bitcoin is printing a lower low. So in this situation here, you have your lower low, and you can see put in a lower low, and then here you have from this node to that node you have your higher high, and actually it was right here, and you can see that was the bottom for that 100% move on Bitcoin. Okay, now this is just the beginning of the strategy. Stick with me. There's a few more things we want to look at because we're looking at altcoins. We're looking to buy altcoins when this happens. So a few things have to line up. Okay, here's where it happened again. You had a 3 drive of bull divs here with your oscillator printing higher highs on your 3-day. Now the money flow is coming down in both these situations, so it's really not something I'm going to be relying on a whole lot. Maybe on another time frame you can kind of find some confluence, but this is what we're looking at now. Since you may not have market cipher, let's just take a quick look and see if we had the same opportunity to identify these with Fu Manchu market cipher B. And let's see, we did. It's almost identical on the oscillator. Even the money flow is very, very similar. Same here. Yep, and the higher low. So yeah, so you can definitely use this indicator instead of the paid one to identify the first step of finding this bottom. Now, when Bitcoin is doing this, total 3, your altcoin market should be doing the same thing. And so back during, let's go to the first low, let's go to our 3-day here on this chart, and we can see that right here, what we had. I'm gonna go ahead and take this one off. We know that works. Cool. All right, so we can see that here in this region, you had almost identical looking. This, mind you, this is the total 3, so this excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum, and let's see, it should even tell you, yeah, excluding Bitcoin and ETH. So it's very interesting that you had this total 3, which doesn't even have Bitcoin in, how it like almost looks like the Bitcoin chart to the T. And so this is the next step, is you're making sure that the total 3 is doing the same thing at these points, you know, lower low, and then your higher high. Okay, from right here to here. Okay, that's the next step. And if you're doing that, that's where you're going to start. When you make this next lower low on Bitcoin and the total 3, that's when, say for instance, if you're looking at AVAX, if you're looking at AVAX during this time frame right here, lo and behold, here's your lower low right there, happened right in that same time frame. And so AVAX, and you actually, yeah, you can do this on individual altcoins. You certainly can, but I'm looking at like the broader market context, and I'm using all this as an indicator. So, you know, I may have my watch list that I've already created, you know, coins that pump, you know, that did well, you know, during this stage, you know, during this leg up. You know, I have coins from that time period that did really well, and those are on my watch list, and those are the ones that I'm looking to accumulate when I get this signal. You know, ones that were doing exceptionally well. A, B, you know, some of my top 20, top 50 coins that I always have on my watch list. For example, Avalanche. So that's what I'm going to be accumulating when I get these signals. And you can see Avalanche came down, and on that lower low that it put in with the higher high on the 3-day, which coincided with the 3-day bull div on Bitcoin and 3-day bull div on total 3. And there's one more metric we're going to look at after we look at this example, and you can see that AVAX from that bottom to the top got a 220% move. And that's what I'm talking about. Bitcoin, this was a great move for Bitcoin. This was like 120%. So you got, you know, 100% more of a gain on AVAX versus Bitcoin. Now, the thing is that, yeah, you're not investing here. You are trading. So this is like a swing trade, long-term position size swing trade opportunity you're taking, and you're taking full profit out at your target. Because if you bought this as an investment here, you bought AVAX on this move, Bitcoin went up 100%, AVAX went up 200. If you did not exit fully here, then look what happens. Came all the way back below your entry. whereas Bitcoin held up above the previous range. So, you have to understand that this is not an investment. Really and truly, I would say there's no altcoin that I'd look to invest in for this very reason, because of the inflation, because of tokenomics. Anyway, that's a whole nother video. Let's move along. So the third thing, and not even the final, but one of the third things is we're looking at USDT dominance. And we are now looking for the opposite to happen. We're looking for the opposite to happen with USDT dominance. So here we are back in July, August 24. Here we are over here, this time frame. And now it did not sweep the high there. Let's see. Oh yeah, here we are, right there. So we're lining up here with that. Yep, so we did. Okay, so higher high here, lower low there. So like the mirror effect of what's going on down here, we're looking for on the USDT, and we can see that the USDT dominance fell sharply as predicted by the indicator, and Bitcoin rose sharply as predicted by the indicator. And then we can even look for the opposite to take place. If you can even use this to say, okay, where do I take profit? But you can see, while this didn't necessarily sweep the low here, that you still on the move down, you had the oscillator was way higher than it was at the point that it made the low. So not a perfect mirror effect here, but then we go to this low we put in back in March and April, and we're looking at USDT dominance here, and you can see that the 3-day, boom, and again the 3-day, boom. So higher highs, lower low on the oscillator, and this coincided perfectly here. So I have just found this to be, a phenomenal strategy, and this has only happened, mind you, this has only happened, let's see, since the bull market began, which you couldn't confirm until you broke these highs and changed market structure. Since the bull market began, this has only happened, this entire bull market, this only happened 2 times, once and twice. So it's a long-term strategy. It's not something that's going to happen, probably like once a year. This happened in 2025. This one happened in 2024. So maybe like a once a year strategy that only happens, in a bull market. And there's some other things you can look at, add to that. One of them being, look at, Bitcoin dominance. And this is very important because we're definitely interested in altcoins using this strategy. I mean, yeah, you can buy Bitcoin using that. You don't have to even look at nothing else. You can just look at Bitcoin and know when to buy Bitcoin. But, look at Bitcoin dominance here. You had the higher high, and then, you didn't have like your oscillator doing the, you didn't have the money flow diverging, it was still rising, but your oscillator itself was lower here on this high. So that was a very good indication that we had reached some kind of major top with dominance. And that was back in the April. So let's look at it for August of 24. Let's see. August. Yeah, and you really didn't have that take place in August, even though you got a really good move like we looked at Avalanche. So, Bitcoin dominance, I think this cycle has totally been, really almost some sort of a broken metric, Anyway, that's the strategy. 3-day bull divs and 3-day bear divs on USDT dominance, and that produces a nice buying opportunity to load the boat up on alts. And you can hold that for, let's see how long that from that bottom to the top. was like 130, 160 days. So yeah, it's like a 6 month hold. Let's check this one. Yeah, about the same time frame. So like a 6 month hold, and probably more than likely the altcoins rolled over before Bitcoin. I'm sure. Let's see. So from that bottom to the high, no, that first initial high Bitcoin made that. So I'd say about like a 4 month hold. When you get this signal, you can buy alts on spot and hold for like 3 to 4 months before you start taking profit. Yeah, that's the strategy. Hope you guys can make some money with it. And the upcoming, just to show you where I'm looking at it to happen next, is going to be here in the next month or so. And this is probably the last time we're going to get this signal, this bull run. If we get it, I'm not making any predictions, but and really that big liquidation wick that came down and wiped everybody out, that really messed this whole chart up. But I mean, not just this chart, all the charts, it's messed up. But say we come down, fill this wick, and put in a slightly lower wick here, and we got the same thing, lower lows here. Say at some point, this is going to get drive on down some. You get some kind of pullback, retracement in the midst of making its way down. Everybody gets all bullish again, kind of like over in here. Come down. You got to push up. Everybody's bullish again, and then wham. Okay, and that's where you got that bull div here. So same thing here. It starts coming down, starts going up. Everybody's getting bullish again. The momentum wave's coming up again, and then comes down. Price takes the low, put in a lower low, but your momentum wave puts in a higher high, and that's what we're looking for to happen there. Yeah. So the next one I'm looking at is going to be when Bitcoin comes to so we have the golden pocket coming in, the golden zone, what I call, between the 618 and 786. We have it coming in between 94 and 88. That's bad. But what I'm looking at is, let's see. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Is the 50-week EMA, which is this jagged green line here. As you can see, this is very, and funny enough, look how we went back and circled where that strategy takes place, and look where it takes place at every time. So I just thought about, obviously, here we go. We got another area of confluence to add to the strategy. Where did these 3-day bull divs take place? Both times. Right here on the 50-week EMA. This is really cool. I'm just now seeing this. Obviously, I already knew the levels was very powerful and significant for this bull run, but I didn't really take the time to go back and say, oh, also this is another filter for the strategy. So yeah, so you're going to want to see that strategy developing around this 50-week EMA. And I think that is very, very interesting. So with that being said, I think, and a lot of people are looking at this 50-week EMA as well and using that as their guide to whether the bull market is over. And so I think that there's a possibility. Now there's a good possibility the top's already in. Okay, there's a good possibility the top's already in. However, based on the Fed monetary policy, they're cutting quantitative tightening. They're ending December 1st. They just deployed $50 billion if you add up all the metrics in the repo market, the overnight repo market. So if you take away the 4-year cycle bullcrap and you just look at the business cycle and liquidity, then I do think there's still a chance for another good run. So if you put aside the cycle theory, A, B, everybody who's looking at this 50-week EMA, if it gets below it to get out, I mean, this is really going to be the place where that 3-day bull div takes place. They're going to be selling out here, thinking the bull market's over, because they think they can time everything and everything works like this and da 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 da. Okay, and you're going to come down some of these key levels, which even not even counting the golden pocket, it did front run at the last high right here. Okay, so I wouldn't doubt that they front run it here as well. But we have a lot of other TA down here before you even get to the golden pocket that is right here around the 50-week EMA. Okay, so you got your 50-week EMA here. I'll move it up, move it. So I don't keep these on my chart, but I like to have that 50-week EMA on a line, and so we can just take off all the indicators, and now we know where the 50-week EMA is. And so you can see if we fall below that 50-week EMA, like we did, back here and here, that right below that 50-week EMA, we have a fresh weekly level. We have a fresh that's a naked point of control. We have the value area low, or value area low. I don't know why that's there, or if it got moved. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it would be sketchy if we came below that. But yeah, if there's the golden pocket. You have a naked point of control here, right on top of the 618 Fibonacci, which also we have a naked weekly POC, a naked daily point of control. And so a lot of confluence here in this zone that could take place. But I mean, since this was just a fast wick down, we could come down and tap this again and that be it. But I don't know. I don't think so. I think we got to go put in a new low, because that's how the strategy develops, is you have to have the lower low on the 3-day for it to work. You have to have that lower low come in. And so yeah, you would really need to, for this strategy to work, you really need price to come down below this wick, put in a lower low, and when this, as this makes its way down, and somewhere along the road, we're going to get another pop, right? And everybody's going to get bullish, and the momentum wave is going to curve, and then it's going to come down, boom, sweep that low. And so when it does, that's what's going to create that lower low, and this momentum wave is going to roll over and be kind of like this, or like this one right here. And that's where you're going to have your higher high on the momentum wave, your lower low here. And that's going to be the next step of finding that strategy to take place.